Hi, I'm Ed Wilkinson, and we're on the block again here in Woodside. Today we're going to be talking with Father Carlos Velasquez, who is a parochial vicar here at St. Sebastian's Parish. Okay, welcome back to On the Block, and we're here in St. Sebastian's Parish with Father Carlos Velasquez. Father Carlos, tell us first of all, where are we? Well, what are we sitting in here?
We're in beautiful Woodside, Queens.
Yeah.
We're sitting here in the parish gardens, which we kind of like to refer to as the Dust Bowl because it's full of dirt. But the kids love it. You know, when I first got here, I kind of mentioned to Father Abels the past year, maybe we should look at, putting a little grass or turf or something to make it look a little nicer. He said, no, the people love it. The kids love it. This is the way it's always been. Yeah. So many generations of Woodsiders, have played in this Dust Bowl, and they love it.
Well, I'm told that there's a soccer game here after us, so we have to move it along.
Yeah.
So we were talking about your college seminary days. Then you have to make a decision at some point to go on to the major seminary. Mm-hmm. That's a big step. Any hesitation on your part at that time?
No, at that point, that I had spent 4 years at Douglaston, and when it was time to fill out the application, I was more than willing and eager. At that point, it's like you can almost see the light at the end of the tunnel there. This is the last phase of formation. Now, after studying 4 years of philosophy, which was tough, studying philosophy, but it was worth it because after being in the theology and studying theology, I saw how much helpful it was to have studied philosophy beforehand. Yeah, sure. So going into theology and learning everything about God and about Scripture and about liturgy, all tons of topics that we study when we're in major seminary. Mm-hmm. It was great, so I was looking forward to very much to going in.
And then the seminary is not just a time of academics, but it's also a time for pastoral training, and there is a year there where you go out and you work in a parish, right?
Exactly.
Where were you assigned?
I was assigned to St. Peter and Paul and Epiphany in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. That was
another
a great
tough
experience.
Neighborhood, though. That's
Another tough neighborhood, yeah.
Changing neighborhood again,
exactly,
like
yeah.
Fort Greene.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you did down there? Some of the experience that you had in Williamsburg?
I had a great opportunity to be able to work closely with the youth there. I worked with the altar servers. I taught in the CCD program, and I worked with the parish youth group. It was great. Some of those kids I still talk to today. It's great. Some of them are getting older now, so it's nice going into college. A lot of them call me back now to ask me advice and different things. So it's nice because you're able to, even though I wasn't a priest, I still saw how much being there for a year was an impact on these kids' lives. Mm-hmm. So it was nice to be able to be there and be, that year was kind of to give us a sense of what parish life would be like. So both living in a rectory with other priests and then actually working and getting the experience of what a daily life of a priest would be. So it was wonderful. I was assigned to Father Manuel Rodriguez, who was the pastor there at the time. Yeah. He's very outgoing and very exciting, has a lot of energy, more energy than I do. So it was a great experience being able to be there. Yeah.
And was that a practical thing? I mean, did you really get a good feel for priesthood now that you've been ordained a year or so? And was that really a good experience?
Yeah, it was. It was a very good experience. It was nice to be able to, get that real life experience when you're in seminary. At that point, I had been in seminary for about 6 years, and so it's very easy, after 6 years of having your head in the book. Although I don't know how much studying I really did, but I told my we're gonna edit that out. No, but after being in seminary for about 6 years at that point, it's nice to get like a real breath of fresh air to kind of realize what it is that you're really going to be doing. Your life will not only be studying and studying and studying, but you'll be able to work with people, and you'll be able to bring Christ to people. And I was able to see that up close through Father Monroe's ministry and all the work that he was doing, and then in all the work that he allowed me to do while I was there.
Yeah.
Was
You
nice.
have a particular interest, I think, in music and liturgy,
I
right?
do,
You like to sing, I know.
I do, yeah.
Where did you pick that up?
That was back from my Sacred Heart days. So when I started singing in the choir there, Dr. Al Cressy, who incidentally was the organist at my first Mass, he was the organist at Sacred Heart at the time. And Sister Eileen Neary, who was there, she ran a youth choir. And so I became part of the youth choir, and I started learning how to sing, and it became a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And as I grew up, I was always interested. Every time I sang, I used to always look over to the guy playing the organ, Dr. Cressy. He was always playing the organ, and I was mesmerized by this instrument, that he could play and use his hands and his feet and sing at the same time. I said, how do you do that? Yeah. So, I kind of, my parents bought me a little keyboard, and I started kind of trying to learn, and I ended up learning how to play the organ while I was there.
Sister Eileen is a fixture in that neighborhood, isn't she?
She is. Been there for many years.
She's still there, right?
She just recently retired, actually. Yeah.
Wow, she was there a very long time.
Yeah.
Everybody who associates Sacred Heart with her. So what do you remember about Ordination Day itself?
How nervous I was.
Is that right?
Yes, I was very nervous. This was the day that I had been preparing for such a long time. It was something that I had looked forward to and had dreamed about for so many years, and it was finally here. So I knew there was, even though I was nervous, there was though a sense of peace in my heart and a sense of tranquility almost, because I was doing what I knew the Lord wanted me to do, really that nervousness was kind of overcome then by the joy of the day. There was a palpable joy at the co-cathedral that day. Even outside, there was so much joy over the fact that there were 13 men being ordained. The co-cathedral was packed. There were people standing outside even during Mass.
That was,
and
what,
it was
2014?
That was 2014, yeah.
And was that the first one that was done at the
That was the first one at the co-cathedral, yeah. So it was a historic moment.
And I think it was the largest class in the whole United States that year.
Exactly, yeah, so it was nice. So the bishop mentioned, we didn't want to brag and we weren't prideful, but we were very humbled by the gift that the Lord was giving us in Brooklyn and Queens that year.
Yeah. Was there any point in the ceremony where all of a sudden it hit you and you said, "Oh, I'm going to be all right here"? Or?
Yeah, and it was kind of like my favorite part of the ceremony. After we had all been ordained, the first thing that a priest does after he's ordained is they put his priestly vestments on for the first time. And your first act as a priest is to go to the bishop and you kneel in front of him and you give him your hands and he anoints your hands. I originally, hadn't expected that was going to be a very powerful moment. I was excited about the laying on of hands. I was excited about many other things. But that moment kind of made it real for me as the bishop anointed my hands with the sacred chrism. And, it kind of reminded me, these are the hands that it's not because they're my hands, but it's because of what's going to happen through these hands, through God's Spirit and through God's grace. It was very moving, and I kind of said to myself, okay, Lord, here we go. Time to get to work.
Yeah. Was it a process where it seemed like it might never end at sometimes? I mean, it seems like a long time that you have to study for the priesthood. Right?
It does. It's almost 9 years. Well, I was at the prep, so it was almost 13 years if you count the prep seminary. And you know what? Kind of when you start, the first few days, you kind of say to yourself, whoa, this is going to take forever. But boy, does time fly.
But you look back and
and it flew by. I can't believe all those years went by, and I did so much and I learned so much throughout all those years. And walking up to the cathedral that day, the co-cathedral, I was kind of like, wow, the time, it felt like just yesterday. People were saying goodbye at Sacred Heart because I was leaving for seminary, and here I am on this big day already. So.
And then you returned to Sacred Heart to do your first Mass?
I didn't. I celebrated my first Mass at St. Joe's. At St. Joe's.
Okay.
At St. Joseph's at the co-cathedral, and then I went back to Sacred Heart the following week to celebrate a Mass on Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So.
And what was that like to come back to the old home parish?
It was great. It was a wonderful experience. It was very moving the place where I had originally, received my vocation, the altar that I had served at for so many times as a boy, as an altar boy. Here I was now, standing there as a priest. And I just kept thinking of Father Murphy. I just kept thinking, he must have been smiling big time in heaven that day.
Yeah.
So happy. It was great. It was so great to be able to see so many of the people that I had grown up with, so many people who had an impact in my life, the people who really taught me about Christ, my catechist growing up, so many people there from the parish who were the ones who, with Father Murphy, encouraged me and helped me to pursue and to discern a vocation to the priesthood. So it was beautiful.
We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Father Velasquez about where vocations come from, particularly in the Hispanic community. So stay with us here on the block. Welcome back on the block here in Woodside, and we're talking with Father Carlos today. I'm Ed, this is Father Carlos, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the future of vocations. Now, you're Hispanic, you're Nicaraguan, right?
Yes.
The only Nicaraguan priest in this diocese?
I am in
but
Brooklyn.
But you're born and bred in Brooklyn.
I'm born and bred in Brooklyn, but I have Nicaraguan blood in there.
Mm-hmm. And there are no other Nicaraguan priests here in the diocese?
Not in the diocese, but there are a few in the Archdiocese of New York and in Patterson and in Newark and a few places nearby. So.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, immigrant groups who come here don't always bring their vocations with them, and that's been a problem in the recent past. Although I think we're catching up with that these days.
Yeah.
There just seem to be more vocations coming. Is it more difficult, less difficult to increase these foster vocations in some of our immigrant groups?
Yeah, I think it's difficulty overall. I think the challenge with the Hispanic community, and something which I try to preach on a lot in my parish and to tell Hispanics about, is the reality that, many Hispanics who are here in the U.S. are here and are immigrants in the U.S. So there's kind of a notion in a sense that, this isn't really home. But the reality is that this has become home,
sure.
Right? And so, it's our responsibility as Catholics here to provide vocations. I tell people all the time, vocations don't come from the sky. We don't fall down from heaven and come down. Me and all the other priests, we are regular guys from regular families in Brooklyn and Queens, right? And so I tell them vocations, they come from the pews, right? They're from the families. They come from families. So, with Hispanics, I find that I try to encourage them often to encourage their children, to speak to their children about vocations to the priesthood. Many times there's a fear, will my son be lonely? Will my son be okay? He's not going to make as much money. There's all these different
Going to be grandchildren.
Exactly, that's a big one. Yeah, I know. So I try to tell them that, we have to encourage, we have to talk to our young people about vocations. We have to give them that option. That should be something that's talked about in every Catholic home. The possibility that God might be calling one of our children to this great vocation.
Only 2 children in your own family, right?
Yes.
You have an older sister?
Yeah, I have an older sister, and she has a 15-year-old niece.
Okay, and your parents were okay with that?
They were okay, thank God. I think my parents were originally a little sad about the fact that they weren't going to get another grandchild from me. But boy, do they have lots of grandchildren. I say to my mom whenever she comes here to Woodside all the time, I said, look, these are all your children, all these people who are here, thousands of people. You got lots of grandchildren.
Many times, we kind of lump all Hispanics together, and really there are so many different types of Hispanics. Is that a challenge for you, or are you able to move in and out of different ethnicities?
Yeah, it's all a matter of getting to know people and getting to understand their culture. So yeah, Hispanics are so different depending on where in Latin America you're from,
Sure.
culturally, language, even certain usage of words. But I find that if I came here, for example, to Woodside. The Hispanic community is predominantly Colombian and Ecuadorian from South America. They are very different from me. I'm from farther up north, Central America. And but getting to know them, speaking with them, as a priest, you're called to be Christ for other people. You're called to be there in times of testing and of pain, in times of joy, in all aspects of life. So I find that it hasn't really been a challenge so much so of a joy of getting really to know who people are, getting to know what their needs are, and trying to help them as best as you can.
I'm always impressed in the Hispanic communities about the very active, vibrant youth groups. You have the Monavistas, and then you have groups that go to World Youth Day.
Exactly.
How important are these groups to the future of the diocese here in Brooklyn and Queens?
They're very much important, I find, because they're fostering a great sense of not only a greater sense of faith, but I find that many of these groups have a great apologetic sense. These kids not only are proud of their faith, but they want to spread it. And that's what we need. We need young Catholics who are willing to be examples, who are willing to, as the Bible says, shout to the rooftops and go out. How do you do that though? And that's where World Youth Day comes in, and all these youth groups come in, where they show them how to shout from the rooftops by not necessarily going up on a roof and shouting, but by living in your daily life and showing others that it's possible to be Catholic and it's possible to be normal, right? You can be a normal kid and you can be Catholic, and you can follow Christ and try each and every day to be faithful to his teachings, to be faithful to his will in your life, and to just try.
You've been to several World Youth Days yourself.
I have.
What are those experiences like?
They're interesting. They've been very powerful moments of grace for me in my life, Ed. The first World Youth Day that I went to was Sydney, Australia.
As a seminarian?
As a seminarian, yeah. Both of my experiences have been as seminarians.
Okay.
I haven't been as a priest yet. And I was always so impressed, particularly with our pilgrims here from Brooklyn and Queens, watching them. I went as a seminarian, someone who was very much involved in the life of the church. I pray every day, I go to Mass every day. These kids don't do that. And then them seeing and going, to this huge event where there are millions of other young Catholics their age who are not only proud of their faith, but are excited about it. And here you have these kids from Brooklyn and Queens who go, and I just love watching them and seeing their reaction and seeing how that fuels in them a desire instantaneously to want to proclaim the gospel with their own lives. And they get so excited about the faith just by seeing and being a part of that excitement that's present at World Youth Day. World Youth Day is important because, we get to be in the presence of the Holy Father. We get to learn at catechesis sessions. But I think the powerful part of World Youth Day is that witness that young people get. That it's okay to be proud of your faith. It's okay to live out what Christ asks us to do. Not only is it okay, but we should go out and we should invite others to do the same.
Yeah. It's amazing that I guess they come together and they see there are a lot of other people who believe the same things that we believe.
Exactly,
We're
yeah.
not out here alone doing that.
Exactly.
Will you be going to Warsaw this?
I'm not. This is a very large parish.
Yeah.
So Father Rodnev is going to be going here with the kids from here, and we can't afford to. We have so many masses that So hopefully next time I'll be able to go to the next one.
Where are the future vocations going to come from? Are we growing the Hispanic vocations in this diocese?
I think we are. I think if you look, Hispanic vocations have been on a slow but a steady rise in our diocese. I think that one of the positive things is the young Hispanic seminarians who are coming out of the seminary, both who are in the seminary and then those who are being ordained. Just a few weeks ago, we had some seminarians here, and a few of them were Hispanic. and people are so impressed by seeing that. And I think especially the young people, as they see more young priests, Hispanic priests come out, they can say, well, if he did that, maybe it might spark something in them that'll say, maybe I can do that too. Maybe that's something that I can look into doing.
Final question is, if a young man comes up to you, particularly a young Hispanic, and says to you, Father, I'm thinking about being a priest, I just don't know, what should I do? What do you say to him? I
say the answer that was given to me and that continues to be given to me all the time, and that answer is pray. When I was in seminary, I got into a big argument with my spiritual director once because I said to him, all you ever tell me to do is pray. Do you have any other answers? And I realized I was immature back then. My spirituality wasn't, fully developed yet. But he was right. Prayer is our direct link to God. It's the way that we communicate with Him. And so if we have a sense that maybe God might be calling us to do something, whether it be to the priesthood, whether it be to anything in life, I think that the number one thing that one should do is pray, particularly before the Blessed Sacrament. That's the most powerful form of prayer, to kneel in front of the Blessed Sacrament and to ask God, what is it that you want? Let me know. And whatever it is, then help me with the grace to be able to say yes.
Good. Beautiful point to end on. Father Carlos, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks for coming.
We have been here on the block in Woodside with Father Carlos Velasquez at St. Sebastian's Parish. Thank you so much for being with us today, and join us again on the block.